A shadow moves through the mist. The air is heavy, the sound of distant drums echoing in the dark. A voice breaks through the silence. Time is never still. It pulls us forward, even when our hearts remain behind. With these words, the story of Outlander returns, not with comfort, but with a storm of questions. What awaits Claire now? And who is Julia, the woman who steps quietly from the fog, carrying secrets that could shape everything that comes next? The screen fades, leaving only the beating sound of a heart, louder and louder, as if time itself is counting down. The trailer opens on Claire standing alone in the middle of a battlefield. The ground is scarred with mud and broken steel, the silence pressing down on her like a weight. She clutches her hands together, her eyes searching the distance for something or perhaps someone who is no longer there. The voiceover begins softly. I have lived in 2 worlds, but neither will ever let me go. This single line sets the tone, reminding the audience that Claire is forever trapped between the 20th century she once called home and the 18th century she now cannot leave. The camera sweeps across the Scottish Highlands, the fog curling around stones and ruins, the land carrying the memory of battles long past. We hear faint whispers, echoes of Jamie's voice, of promises made and broken. The sound of his words lingers like a ghost, but his figure never appears. Instead, the audience feels his absence more strongly than if he were standing there. It's a reminder of Claire's pain, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that shapes every choice she makes. The pace of the trailer shifts as faint music rises, strings pulling at the heart. Claire walks through a candlelit corridor, shadows stretching along the walls. Her footsteps are careful, yet the way she pauses tells us she feels the weight of something behind her. The narration continues. Love anchors us, but it also binds us to the very things we fear losing. These words are layered with meaning. The trailer doesn't explain her exact struggle, but plants the seed of mystery. What, or who, is she about to lose again? Suddenly, the screen flashes with quick images, hands reaching for hers but never touching, the sound of rushing water, and the violent crack of thunder. Claire's voice cuts through. I thought I understood destiny, but fate is never so kind. This is where tension takes hold. The audience feels that Claire's story is moving toward a test greater than any she has faced before. The first section closes with a slow, dramatic shot. Claire kneels by a gravestone, her hand brushing across the carved letters. Her face is hidden, but the pain in her silence is unmistakable. The wind howls, and the camera pans upward into the storming sky. The faint sound of a woman's footsteps is heard, soft, deliberate, approaching. And though we do not see her face yet, the presence of Julia begins to make itself known. The music swells, and the screen cuts to black. The screen fades in, not with light, but with sound, the echo of footsteps on stone. Slow, steady, unhurried, yet powerful in their rhythm. The camera lingers on a pair of hands brushing along the rough surface of an ancient wall. The air is still, the torchlight flickers, and the silence breaks as a voice whispers, every story has a shadow, and sometimes that shadow steps into the light. Julia's presence is not announced with fanfare. Instead, she's felt before she is seen. The trailer shows fragments, her silhouette against a stormy horizon, the curve of her cloak catching the wind, the outline of her profile hidden beneath the hood. The decision to never show her face directly is deliberate, making her an enigma, a figure the audience cannot fully grasp. This is where the mystery deepens. Is she an ally drawn to Claire's path, or a danger waiting to strike? The voiceover softens, almost intimate, as though Julia herself speaks. I am not here to change your fate. I am here because it has already chosen me. These words weave into the soundscape, heavy with meaning yet unclear in intent. The audience is left questioning, who is she speaking to? Claire? Or perhaps someone else unseen? A series of quick cuts intensifies the mood. Julia stands at the edge of a river, her reflection rippling in the water, as though she herself is divided between worlds. She steps into a room lit only by candles, where Claire's figure is faintly visible in the background, the two women never quite meeting eyes. The editing is sharp, intentional flashing from Julia's hand tightening on a dagger's hilt, to her gently placing a book on a table, to her standing alone in the ruins of a chapel. Each image adds to the contradiction of her character. Dangerous, yet delicate. Haunting, yet human. The music rises with low drums, building suspense. Claire's voice returns, strained, wary. I don't know who you are, or why you've come. A pause follows, and Julia's shadowed figure steps closer into frame. The silence stretches, almost unbearable, before her voice cuts in with chilling calm. But you will. The screen snaps to black at that very moment. Letting the weight of her words sink deep, the section closes with a long, haunting shot. Julia walks through the mist toward the camera, her face hidden, her movements controlled, deliberate. Her figure fills the frame before the image cuts abruptly, leaving only the sound of her footsteps echoing as the music fades. The audience is left with a sense of unease and curiosity. Knowing she is no ordinary character, her arrival is the key to what comes next. The trailer does not return with peace, it erupts. The screen flashes with the sudden crack of thunder, a battlefield drenched in rain. Steel meets steel, sparks fly, and cries of war fill the air. The camera spins through chaos, soldiers locked in brutal combat, the world around them unraveling. In the middle of this storm, a single voice cuts through like a blade. Every choice has a price, and this one may cost everything. The pace quickens, the cuts more violent, more urgent. A torch is thrown into a thatched roof, flames roar to life. A door is slammed shut against pounding fists. A hand, shaking with fear, clutches a letter stained in blood. The imagery does not explain, but it screams of betrayal, of promises broken and dangers rising. And between the chaos, Claire's face flickers across the screen, her eyes fierce, her resolve hardening, yet shadows of doubt tug at her expression. Julia's presence grows sharper here. She is no longer silent. We hear her voice woven into the roar of the battle. You think you fight for love, but love has never been the true enemy. Her tone is calm, almost sorrowful, as the trailer shows her raising a blade not in rage, but in certainty. She moves through the firelight like a phantom, her silhouette cutting through smoke. The question lingers. Is she warning Claire, or threatening her? The music pounds harder, drums like war calls, strings trembling with intensity. Images flash too quickly to hold. A map burned to ashes, a soldier falling in slow motion, a secret whispered into an enemy's ear. Then, silence. The screen turns black for a heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, Claire whispers, "If I cannot trust her, I cannot trust myself." Her voice trembles not from weakness, but from the weight of impossible choices. The silence shatters as lightning splits the sky. Julia's cloaked figure stands atop a cliff, the storm raging around her, her arms lifted as if commanding the very elements. Below, an army advances, their torches like rivers of fire flowing into the night. Claire watches from the shadows, torn between stepping forward or turning away. The imagery swirls between hope and despair, showing that this conflict is not just about battles fought with swords, but with hearts, loyalties, and truth. The section closes with a single, striking image. Claire and Julia standing on opposite sides of a crumbling stone bridge. Between them, the river rages, threatening to swallow all. Neither woman moves, neither speaks. The camera lingers, the tension unbearable, until the bridge begins to crack under their feet. Then cut to black. The music stops, leaving only the sound of rushing water. The screen opens, not with battle, but with silence. A single candle flickers in the darkness, its flame trembling against the draft of an unseen wind. Claire's voice drifts in, softer now, almost breaking. I have lost too much to believe the future will ever be kind. But I cannot stop hoping. The camera moves closer to the candle until the flame fills the frame. Then, suddenly, it blows out, plunging everything into black. A soft violin begins, its sound thin and aching, pulling at the heart. We see Claire sitting alone in an abandoned chapel, her hand resting on a cracked wooden pew. Her eyes glisten, but no tears fall. She whispers words the audience cannot hear, her lips trembling in silence. Then the shot shifts Julia, standing across the same chapel, cloaked in shadow, her gaze fixed on Claire. They are divided by distance, yet bound by something unspoken. The trailer slows, showing fragments of humanity beneath the chaos. A hand brushing against another before pulling away. A child's laughter echoing faintly before fading into silence. The soft weight of a ring placed on a stone. Each image feels deeply personal, as if pulled from the very core of Claire's memories, or perhaps visions of what might come. The emotional weight is heavy, but it is not despair, it is a reminder of why the fight matters. The pacing shifts again. Music builds layer upon layer of strings and drums, rising towards something unstoppable. Quick flashes interrupt the quiet. Claire running through fire, Julia standing in the pouring rain, a sword clashing with an unseen enemy, a scream carried away by the storm. The imagery does not explain, it overwhelms. Every frame pulses with urgency, leaving the audience breathless. Then comes the moment of stillness, the eye of the storm. The trailer freezes on Claire's face, her voice cutting through with raw defiance. Fate will not decide for me. I will choose. Her words echo, and with them, Julia's voice follows, calm but chilling. Then you have already lost. The music explodes one final time, flashes of fire, lightning, a hand slipping from another's grasp, the roar of war, and a scream swallowed by silence. The screen goes black. After a pause, white text fades in. Outlander Season 8, the journey begins. As the text lingers, the faint sound of a heartbeat echoes, slow and steady. Then, just before the trailer ends, Julia's footsteps return closer, louder until the sound cuts off, leaving the audience in silence, unsettled, and desperate for answers. The trailer does not end where the storm breaks. Instead, it lingers quiet, unsettling, as though the world is holding its breath. A soft sound emerges, the creak of an old door opening. The screen fades into a darkened room, its walls lined with shadows, the floor scattered with forgotten papers and torn maps. A lone lantern flickers, casting long shapes across the walls. The voiceover whispers, almost too soft to hear. When the fire dies, what remains is truth. And truth is never gentle. The imagery is slower now, dreamlike. Claire walks through the ruins of what was once a home, broken glass, charred beams, the memory of laughter now swallowed by silence. Her footsteps echo in the emptiness. She bends down, picking up a locket from the ashes, her hand trembling as though it weighs more than she can bear. Her voice follows, fractured but strong. I can mend what is broken, but I cannot bring back what is gone. The camera shifts suddenly. Julia stands at a distance, cloaked as always, her face hidden, but this time, her posture is different. Not threatening, not commanding, still. She watches Claire, silent, her presence heavy but not hostile. The music lowers to a hum, eerie and soft, pulling the audience into uncertainty. Who is Julia now? Enemy? Ally? Or something beyond either? Quick flashes break the stillness, snippets of what's to come. A secret letter sealed with blood-red wax. A dagger dropped into a rushing river. A woman's scream echoing into the night. A silhouette standing at a graveside as thunder rolls overhead. Each image feels unfinished, as though pieces of a puzzle the audience cannot yet see. The music begins to rise again, but differently this time, not with the rage of drums, but with the pull of strings, delicate yet powerful, like a heartbeat finding strength again. Claire's voice returns, filled with steel. The past is not done with me, and neither is she. At that moment, the camera swings back to Julia, who steps closer into the light. Her hand reaches forward, not with a weapon, but with something unseen, a gesture that blurs the line between threat and salvation. The final shot is deliberately cruel. Just as Julia's hood begins to fall back, the screen cuts to black. Silence. Then, a single line of text appears. Some faces are never meant to be forgotten. The trailer ends with the faint echo of footsteps fading into nothingness, leaving the audience trapped between fear and longing. The trailer does not close quietly, it rises, trembling with the weight of something unspoken. The screen fades in with the sound of rushing wind over the highlands, carrying whispers that blur into the air like fragments of forgotten prayers. The camera glides over a cliff's edge, revealing the vast expanse of land and sea, raw and untamed. Then a voice cuts through the silence, low, steady, filled with fire. The world will not wait for us. We must claim it, or be claimed by it. Claire appears, standing on the edge of that cliff, her figure carved against the sky. She looks not to the past, nor to the storm behind her, but forward, where uncertainty reigns. Her hand grips a piece of cloth, a banner torn and weathered, fluttering violently in the wind. The sound of drums begins to rise again, but slower, heavier, like a heartbeat preparing for war. The screen fractures into flashes of what is to come. A torch raised high in the dead of night. Julia's hand pressing against a stone wall etched with symbols, as though unlocking something lost to time. Soldiers march through narrow streets, their faces grim, their silence more terrifying than battle cries. And then, in the quietest moment, Claire kneels, placing her palm on the earth, whispering a vow. I will not let time choose for me. I will write my own end. Julia's voice cuts through, not cold, but sharp with conviction. And when you do, remember, every end begins with me. The music swells to its peak, violins wailing, drums roaring, a chorus rising like a storm breaking open the sky. The screen flickers between light and shadow, life and death, love and betrayal, until it becomes impossible to separate one from the other. Then the climax, a final, haunting shot of Claire and Julia standing back to back, surrounded by smoke and flame. Their figures are faceless yet unmistakably bound, not by choice, but by fate. The bridge between them and the world trembles, as though ready to collapse. Claire raises her head, her voice steady, fierce. This is not destiny. This is my oath. The screen explodes into black. Silence. After a long pause, words fade onto the screen in pale white. Outlander Season 8. The story is far from over. The faint sound of a heartbeat follows, slower now, as if time itself is holding onto its last breath. And then, nothing. The trailer ends not with clarity, but with echoes, whispers that refuse to fade. The screen is pitch black, the silence so heavy it feels alive. Then, faintly, the sound of a clock begins ticking, slow, relentless. Each beat a reminder that time is both enemy and companion. A single voice emerges, soft but unyielding. The past will always call. The question is, who dares to answer? The darkness parts into one last fleeting image. Claire standing in the ruins of a battlefield, her figure drenched in twilight. She looks over her shoulder, as if she feels Julia's unseen gaze pressing against her back. For a heartbeat, the two women seem connected, their destinies entwined by something neither can break. The camera lingers just long enough to stir unease, and then, just as Julia's face threatens to come into view, the screen snaps to black. The music returns for one final surge, not violent, but haunting. A chorus rises, woven with violins, carrying the sound of grief and hope stitched together. Words appear across the screen, bold and stark against the void. Outlander Season 8 Episode 1 awaits. A pause. The music fades, leaving only the ticking clock. It slows, until the final tick echoes like a hammer strike. Then silence. No resolution. No answers. Only the weight of a story that has not finished, leaving the audience with the unsettling certainty that what lies ahead will change everything.